everybody at the book world. As you can see, I'm by myself this time around. I'm going to talk about my best of the year. It is the end of the year and it's time for an end of the year video, I think. And this time around, I am doing it on my own because I've got lots of books to talk about, and this video is already going to be long enough as it is. I read 100 books this year. I literally ended the last book tonight. That would make, so technically I had 101 books, and that 101 book actually ended up on my little pile of the best of the best. So I kind of sort of made rules. I told myself that I was going to do 3 books per month, but there was a couple of months where I couldn't come up with 3 books because it was a bad month for me in the aspect of like good books that I read. So I kind of added in elsewhere. But that's not the point. The point is that I have multiple books to talk about that I think are worthy to talk about and worthy to suggest that anyone should read. So let's get started, okay? So the first month is obviously January, and I read 3 really, really good books I want to talk about called Dreamland Burning, and it was a book that was lent out and I still haven't received it back. And it's been over almost a year, so it's time to give me my book back. And you know who you are. Jennifer Latham is her name, who wrote the author. And it is about history in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I am from Tulsa, Oklahoma, so this is very, very interesting history that I was never taught in high school about North Tulsa. And it was like in the 1920s, I believe. And it was a huge historical event. And it was, blacks against whites, and it was a big event that I wish I was taught in high school or middle school or school in general, but I was not. It was never even brought up. It's like almost something that they want to bury in the past. I believe that it should be taught. I hope that one day that will happen, but I was taught by this book. It's got the past and the present. The present is about a girl who lives in this house and a dead body is found, and the past is about a man going through the historical event, and he that kind of like explains how that dead body got there. It was very, very good. Obviously, all these books are either 5 or 4 stars, and I really did enjoy it. The next one is a thriller called Lies She Told by Kate Houlihan. Pretty sure that's how, if you know any of my videos, it's very hard for me to pronounce anything. So hopefully that's it. Like I said, it was a thriller. And this is about, it's actually kind of like a 2-parter book. It is about a woman, and she happens to be an author, and it's about like her like little thrilling story, and then she's like writing a story, and she's like almost got like writer's block, or so you think, and it's about the story that she's writing, a book that she wrote. So it's almost like getting 2 books in one, and both have great twists, both have great, amazing plots. They're both very, very well written, which technically, obviously, it's the same author, but we're not going to go there. Next, we're going to talk about The Lies We Told. It's another thriller. Camille Way is the author, and again, it's an Audible book. It was obviously another great book. It is about a woman whose boyfriend goes missing. Everyone, for whatever reason, even though no one hears from this man, assumes that he left her. She has other ideas. She assumes that, because she finds out that he had a stalker, and she thinks that stalker has something to do with this missing boyfriend. I don't even know why. The only part that bothered me was the fact that everyone assumed that he left her, but he like left all his stuff. So I'm like, yeah, that's not how you leave somebody, but okay, whatever. It's about her trying to figure out what happened to her boyfriend. Again, this book was extremely well written in the aspect of the characters. They were very, very dark and very, very gray, and I enjoy that immensely, especially from thrillers. So that was a really, really good book to read, especially in the beginning of the year. All 3 great books. February came around, and obviously that's, the love month. So I read a couple of love books. So one came up on my list, and that will be It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I've actually never even heard of this author. This would be thanks to my darling and lovely husband, who is not here today. He actually bought this book for me for part of a Valentine's Day gift, and I really enjoyed it. I literally went through this in one day. It is about a woman who meets a man. Love story, go figure. Meanwhile, it also goes to her past because she has a love story to talk about in her past. So it's about that one and her present one and how all that goes out. It is a very good tearjerker. If you knew me at all, you would know that that's a big deal. So I enjoyed it immensely. So that was a good book. And then I moved on. I was still on the thriller, like little roller coaster. So I read Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. This was a first Karen Slaughter book for me, but I enjoyed it so much that I bought like 3 or 4 more that I haven't started yet. But it is about 2 sisters, and one sister's husband dies, is killed in an alley, and she finds out that her husband was not as sweet and innocent as she thought he was, and lots of bad things happened because of her husband. So you find out all about that in the very beginning of the book, and then you find out all her like ways of dealing with all that and trying to make amends. So that, and her sister helps her through that. So that was a great book, obviously 5 stars. And the next one would be My Lady Jane by 3 authors. It is Cynthia Han, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows. That's like the Lady Jane books. This is the first one, My Lady Jane. This is fantastic. It's about Queen Jane. Historically, she gets her head chopped off, and this book is, the first half is pretty close to historical events, and then the second half, it has the little twist, and the little twist. What you find out in the very, very beginning of the book is that there are people that can turn into animals, and so that is the little twist throughout this whole book. It's always from 3 perspectives. I'm pretty sure that each author does a little perspective on their own, and they kind of join in together. So it's Jane, Edward, King Edward, and then I forgot the third person. But it's very, very good. There's a little bit of love, a little bit of funny. It's very, very fun to read, and a very fast read at that. So the next was March. So the books that I read that I think were fantastic was No Exit by Taylor Adams. So there we go, book of the month, book pick for me. It is a thriller about a woman who pretty much gets snowed in one of those like truck stops, and she's with a bunch of other people she doesn't know, and she goes outside, I think to make a phone call, or try to make a phone call. She can't, her phone won't reach out like any other thriller. She ends up finding a child in the back of a van. So it's about her trying to figure all that out and try to save this child, obviously, and all kinds of stuff. So it is very, very good. It is just like non-stop, fast-paced. It is awesome. So highly recommend if you're a thriller reader to read this. The next book that I read that I highly recommend is actually kind of a cutesy book. So it's called The Bookish Life of Nina Hill by Abby Waxman. I enjoyed this so much that I again bought more of her work. I have not got to any of it, but that's not the point. The point is I enjoyed it so much that I wanted to read more. I enjoyed this. This was about, obviously, Nina Hill. She finds out that someone that she knew died, and ends up giving her a bunch of the money, and the people who are actually related to this person, who have no idea anything about her. She ends up being like a long lost daughter. He ends up going away. The father ends up going away and like getting married, having kids and all that other stuff, and being rich. And she has nothing to do with that. And so when he dies, then she obviously has something to do with it. So there's that. And so it's just like her life pretty much. And books are mentioned multiple times in this. And she runs a bookstore. It's very cute. There's a little romance in it as well, but it's very, very quick, fast read. And I thought it was very, very cute and very easy, quick read as well. I also read something that I looked for it. I have no idea what it is. I guess I lent it to someone, but I don't know who. So hopefully I'll get that back sooner or later. It's called The Cabin at the End of the Woods by Paul Tremblay. It's very, very small, not easy, small book to read. It is a thriller slash horror kind of a book. It is about two men who take their adoptive daughter to a cabin in the woods. People end up showing up and bad things happen. That's all I really can say, because it is a very, very, like I said, a very small book, and so it's going to be something that if I say too much, it's going to give away a lot, but pretty much it's kind of like an end of the world kind of scenario. And these two men and their adoptive daughter are a part of that. And it's from a perspective of all three, the two men and the daughter. So it was very, very good. It was very, especially when things start really rolling, it like, you can't put it down. Trust me, it was very intense book. Next would be April. So we went to, I wanted to go ahead and keep going with the Lady Jane books, but I kind of wanted a little background. So the next one was like My Plain Jane. So to get ready for that, I found out that it's about the book Jane Eyre, or the character Jane Eyre. It's based off of her. So I went ahead and read Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bro. This is a famous author, saying I can't even say her name. Jane Eyre is obviously a very classic book. It is about pretty much Jane Eyre, her life, and her growing up, and her meeting a very strange individual man who she falls in love with, and strange things happen. And I really, really liked this book. I know that it's either you like it or you hate it. I enjoyed it immensely, especially Jane Eyre. I thought she was fantastic. I highly recommend this if you really enjoy classics. I've read a couple of classics, and it wasn't until this one that I started really actually wanting to give classics a real go. So if it wasn't for this book, I don't know if that would have happened. So the next book that I read was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was fantastic. I enjoyed it immensely. Obviously, again, this is the best of the best for my year. It is about, obviously, Evelyn Hugo. She chooses a reporter to do her story. She's never done this, ever. And so this is a big deal for this reporter. She pretty much she's much older, obviously. She's telling her life story pretty much to this reporter to report it. This reporter also doesn't have much of experience, so this is like, it's her big break kind of a deal. It's the present with the reporter and their relationship, and then Evelyn Hugo's past and how she like pretty much became who she is. She's a very, very famous woman. It's almost like a Marilyn Monroe kind of a scenario. So this was very good. I enjoyed it immensely, and I highly recommend if you have not heard or read this book yet. And then I finally decided to give Frederick Bachman a choice and read Beartown. And let me say that this started my favorite new author of the year kind of situation, because I read multiple books. You'll see him multiple times in this little stack of books that I'm talking about. Beartown is about a town called Beartown. It is a hockey town, very, very small town. Everyone knows everybody. Everyone knows everyone's business. You know, everyone thinks that they should know everyone's business kind of town. They're all about hockey, and if you're not about hockey, then you shouldn't even live in the town. And it is about a rape that happens in the town and how people react to that rape. Multiple point of views, so very, very good. So, like I said, I read Jane Eyre to go on with the Lady Jane or Jane books. So the next one I read, again from the same three authors, was My Plain Jane. This was the favorite of the three. This one was about, again, like I was saying, Jane Eyre, and the little twist is there's ghosts in this book that a character, it's a she character, can see. It is about her and then Charlotte, which is a friend that she picks up in her boarding school, and Alexander, who is like the guy who is in charge of the whole like ghost kind of hunting kind of thing. And they're like capture ghosts. So he's the main guy for that. Again, there's a little bit of love, really, really quirky and very, very funny. I laughed out loud multiple times reading this book, and I enjoyed it immensely. So if you, like I said, Jane books, highly recommend it. The next one, which will be technically, I would call it my favorite book of the whole year, which would be Kristen Hanna's The Nightingale.
Very nice.
So this is a historical fiction kind of a book. It is to deal with World War II. It's in France. It's about two sisters. One sister is married and has kids, and her trying to survive the war. And then her younger sister, who is like a free spirit kind of girl who is not connected to really anybody, and she wants to help in any way that she can with the war. So she wants to actually like be in there, you know, right in the middle of the action, as much as she can be for a woman who is in the World War II area. So this is very, 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 very good. Towards the very end, I actually, I have, if you've watched my other videos, I have a daughter, so I didn't want to be like disturbed at all at the very end of the book. So I got in my car and I went to just like a parking lot, and I finished reading the book.
Are you serious?
And it's a good thing I did, because I bawled like a big baby. Tears were just coming and coming. I was ugly crying, let me tell you. It was fantastic. So I love this book, and I bought multiples of her, and for whatever reason, I didn't read another one until towards the end of the year. So there's that. I really, really highly recommend this. Like I said, it was my favorite one of the entire year. It's very hard to pick one, but I'm like 99% positive this is my number one. The next one would be Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. Like I said, because of my husband, I found this author and I continued reading from her. This is about a girl and a boy. A girl just broke up with her cheating boyfriend and moved out, and the boy is someone that she kind of knew. I'm not really sure if this would actually happen in real life, but she ended up moving in with him because he happened to have a room available for her to move into, and he has a girlfriend. Oh, I don't want to tell you the part. I was just about to give out a little tidbit. I mean, it's in the very beginning of the book, but I'm not going to tell you what it is, because it kind of took me on surprise too as well. So I want you to have that if you've not read this yet. And it's just about their friendship and what this guy has got starting to get conflicting feelings, and how that goes. I almost added the novella, not the second book, but the novella to this called Maybe Not. It's the novella. There's two characters in here. I can't remember their names, but they're in a relationship in this book, and in the novella is their relationship starting up. It was really good. I really enjoyed it, but the only reason I would add it in there is because of the sex. Not that fantastic of a book, but the sex scenes were. But Maybe Someday was really, really good, so I suggest you read this. Okay, so I read a couple of books in June that kind of almost competed with The Nightingale. The first one is The House in the Cerulean Sea. Got pretty close. By T.J. Klune. It looks like a middle grade. It is not a middle grade. It is an adult book. It is about a guy, in case you've not watched any of my videos, it is about a guy who works for a company. They go and they check on orphanages and the kids that stay there to make sure that they are being taken care of correctly and making sure everything is running correctly. But there's a little twist to that, in the fact that it's like, you know, almost like magical kids. And the place that he's going to, they are like the hardest kids to take care of kind of scenario. So it's a big secret, it's a big deal for him to go. And so he goes and he meets his kids. And it is a very, very heartwarming book. Makes your heart, you know, just melts and love. And it's just very, very sweet. So I enjoyed it immensely. It was very good. And it almost hit the #1 spot. Another one that almost hit the #1 spot is another Frederick Bachman book, A Man Called Uwe. It's about an old man and his life and him growing up and becoming this old man. He has a wife and there's neighbors involved. It is fantastic. Just between you and me, I'm pretty sure this is how my husband's going to end up being at this age. But, you know, he'll find that out when he edits. Hey, honey.
You're fired.
It was really good. Him as a character, fantastic. Enjoyed it immensely. And I'm, you know, like I said, I might be a little bit optimistic in the aspect of hoping that my husband ends up being like this. I have another favorite Frederick Bachman that I read this year, but this one is second favorite. Okay, let's go with that. The third book that I want to talk about is called Theft of Swords. So there you go on that. It is by Michael Sullivan. This is actually technically 2 books in one, but it was published this way, so we're going to go with this. Anyway, it is about 2 men. They are thieves. They are very, very good thieves. They're very sarcastic thieves. It's very, very witty. It's very fun. And they are meant to go steal a sword. And the job seems like an easy, no problem, easy peasy. And that is not what happens. It's very witty. It's very funny. And the characters make this book just perfect, let me tell you. I enjoyed every single character in this book, and especially their banter between the 2 main characters. I liked it a lot. And July was a very, very good reading month, and it was because just these 3 books alone. Let me say again that these 3 books almost knocked off the top spot. I went ahead and tried my little hand in sci-fi, mainly because a book club that I'm a part of wanted to read this book, so I joined in. I did it as an Audible book, but I bought the book because I love it so much. And let me tell you right now, though, do Audible on this book. Trust me. Just trust me. It's fantastic. Andy Weir, Hail Mary, about a guy who goes to space to save the world. Okay? That's all you need to know. It is lots of fun. I enjoyed the main character and all the side characters, and my favorite character in the entire year is in this book. Let me just say that. Andy Weir's writing, I find out, and you'll find out in just a second, I actually really, really enjoy. I liked it. Even though it was a good amount of sci-fi in this book, but he made it so digestible. I enjoyed it immensely. I liked it so much that I immediately went out and picked up The Martian by him as well. And I like this book not as much as I liked this one, but that's mainly because, like I said, there was a character in here that I just love. The digestible nature of the sci-fi part, all that is still in this book just as much as it was in this one. I enjoyed both, and the movie adaptation of this book is actually pretty dang good, so I'm pretty happy about that. Matt Damon did a great job. I hear that they're going to make a movie out of this, and I hope they do it just as a good job, because if they did, oh, it would be great. It would be one of my favorite movies ever. So let's just hope that happens real soon, okay? My favorite Frederick Bachman book was also read this month, and that would be Anxious People. And I know a lot of people don't seem to enjoy this one as much as the other ones that they read, but I enjoyed this immensely. It's about a bank robbery. It is, again, by multiple perspectives, and he's just got a way of writing characters and making you truly see that there are 2 sides to every story, and to have a little compassion for everybody that you know and meet. August was my next one, and I went and continued with my love of Colleen Hoover and read Ugly Love. This is about, again, it's a love story about a man and a woman, and the man pretty much has decided that he will never love anyone ever again, or fall in love, or be in a relationship, or have any kind of future with anybody. And she's trying to break that. It's from 2 perspectives. The woman is present perspective, and the man's is the past perspective, and pretty much like what has happened in his past has made him decide that. And it's pretty ugly. And there is some tear-jerking. Colleen Hoover has that, where you're just like, you think you know what's going on, and then she's like, sweeps the rug under you. And this book is no exception, let me tell you. I also read a couple books that one of them was only Audible. I have not had the actual book, by Samantha Downing, called For Your Own Good. This is a thriller. It's about a teacher who feels like he needs to teach his students certain lessons in life, and they're not lessons you really want to learn, let me tell you. It is rather, it's the only part that it kind of got on my nerves was the ending was not the best, but literally the last chapter was not my favorite. And then I also read that's one I've lent out, Desperate Measures by Katie Robert. This is a kind of almost like a smut book. This is about Disney. It's a Disney villain. This is a series. It's about a Disney villain and a Disney heroine. And they get together and usually the hero of this Disney, actual story is actually the villain. So this one is about Jafar and Jasmine and their relationship. And it is definitely a hate to love kind of relationship coming from her, because there's a multiple of these series that I've already read. And the two that I really, really enjoy that are both on this list were the hate to love. So coming from this author, I think I really do enjoy her way of getting from the hate to the love part of the relationship between the two main characters. If that in any way interests you, definitely check her out because the series is fantastic. So we're going to move on to September. This is where I kind of do a little bit of iffing because I only had 2 books that I really would want. Oh no, actually only 1 book that I really wanted to talk about that I technically read in September. Midnight Sun. So I read Twilight. I'm not adding any of the books I've already read. So like anything to do with like Locke Lamora or Twilight, any of those kinds of books I'm not going to add because I read those last year in 2020. So I'm not going to talk about them again in 2021. But Midnight Sun was from Edward. It's Twilight's, the vampire, sparkling vampires as my husband likes to call them. But instead of in Twilight, it's Bella's point of view, and in Midnight Sun, it's Edward's point of view. And he even gives you, as you can see, it's a pretty big book, because he also gives you like backstories of his family, which was very, very interesting. I really enjoyed that part of the book. The only thing that kind of bothered me is because he's constantly like, I shouldn't be doing this with Bella. I shouldn't be doing that. And it's a lot. There are multiple reasons that these book series has issues. I know they are. Let's move on. Okay, I still enjoyed it. I actually like it better than the actual Twilight book. But the other 2 I started in September, but I didn't end until October. But I'm going to go ahead and add it in here anyway, because I don't have any other books in September that I really enjoyed that I want to really talk to you about. But the 2 that I'm going to talk about are The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. And this is kind of like almost like a Salem witch kind of thing. It's a very small town and is about a woman who finds out that her past is all to do with witches. But she lives in this town that is all to do about religion, and she's all conflicted and trying to figure out what she wants to do about what she has learned. And then her town is also in trouble by the fact that her family has set up on a curse on this town, and so she's just trying to figure this all out and try to save her town, but at the same time be true to who she is. Apparently it's going to be a series. If and when it does come out, I will be sure to continue with that because this was good. And another one that if I am completely and totally 100% honest, it was like the 28th or 29th of September. So really this is an October book, but I don't care because this is my video, so it's my rules. And that's Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. It's about a haunted house. It is about a girl and her family. It's past and present. Past is when the girl's a little girl and her father and mother. And he wrote a book, so it's like him writing this book, that point of view. And then her and trying as a grown woman, her father died, and she finds out that he still owns this house. So it's her going to this house and trying to find out the truth. It's really, really good, and a lot of twists and turns, and a really good thriller. And Riley Sager is definitely a author that I'm going to continue reading. And I did read more than this one. Okay, so October obviously is supposed to be a spooky month, so I read spooky books. One of them was Stephen King, The Mist. And then the other one is Stephen King, The Shining. So The Shining is about a family who goes to take care of a hotel during their downtime, the time that they're not open because there's a huge snowstorm that comes through every year. And so the hotel is not safe or pretty much at all livable. He's considered the caretaker, and he takes his family with him. They get snowed in. Spooky stuff happens to this family. It's very, very sad. And like I said in another video, I really did enjoy it, and it's very, very, very good atmospheric book. But Jack is not my favorite. I mean, technically you're not supposed to like Jack, but I feel like it would have been even better if you would have liked Jack as a man as a husband and a father. At least that part in the beginning of the book, it would have been an even better book when they get to the hotel. The other one, The Mist, totally 5 stars, easily 5 stars. Very, very small book from Stephen King. It's about a mist that comes into a town, and spooky, creepy, horrifying things are inside this mist that will come out and kill you. You know, like maybe 1/4 of the town gets stuck in a supermarket while the mist is surrounding them, and it's them trying to survive. We actually did a review on this, so if you want to go to that review, I'm sure my husband will link it somewhere. So, link it, husband. The other book that I read in October was an Audible that I really, really want to own at some point in time, called Hour of the Witch by Chris Bohalian. I'm not sure if that's exactly how you say it, but that's how I'm going to say it. It is, again, in the set with the Salem witches, like that whole trial thing, but it's right a little bit before that. It's about a woman who is married to a man who is very, very abusive. She was pretty much forced into this marriage. She's very much older than her. She tries to get a divorce, and instead of, which of course is very rare and few between kind of a thing. So they kind of change it up on her, and instead of making it more of a divorce, it's almost like a Salem witch trial. So they're trying to prove that she's a witch and that she is evil, and that's really why she would want the divorce, not because this man is a mean, horrible man or anything like that, God forbid. That was very, very good. I enjoyed it immensely, and I can't wait to own my own copy because, like I said, I did this as an Audible. It was a good Audible, but I think I would have enjoyed it even more if I actually physically read the book. So November came around, and I kind of finished off my October month and read The Ex-Hex. This was another book of the month by Erin Sterling. This is kind of like a little romance book about a girl who is a witch. It's known to be a witch. She lives in a very small town. I really enjoyed the town atmosphere. It kind of reminded me, I'm not a big Gilmore Girls show watcher. I watched only like a couple episodes, but the way that this town is described, I mean, it's like spot on to that town, let me tell you. She and this man, they are like, I think they're like 19 years old. They break up. She is very scorned and very upset about it. She gets drunk with her friend, who's also a witch, and they hex him. But it was just meant to be a joke, like it wasn't meant to be anything serious. The hex took, so when he comes back into town, bad things happen. And so then it's their job as, like, they get together and they try to unhex them and also save the town. So it's very, very cute little romance, and I enjoyed it immensely with little witches. I mean, you can't really go wrong with romance and witches, and for me at least. I did read Sean McGuire, Beneath the Sugar Sky. This is a series. This is, I think, the fourth one. This is the third one. This book is, like, as you can see, they're really small novellas. This series is pretty much about kids who go like Alice in Wonderland or the Narnia kids. Like, they go to another land, they come back, they don't want to belong, they want to go back, and this woman has made like almost like an orphanage for these kids to help them adapt back into the real world in hopes that their doors open back up. And this one is actually the first one that I gave a 5-star to. I've been giving them about 3 to 4 stars each, but this one I gave 5 stars, and I think it's more of the world, the reason I gave it 5 stars than anything else, because it's about like Candyland, like everything's made out of candy and sugar and sweets. So that's probably why I gave it 5 stars, but I do like the series. I enjoyed it immensely. I've read 5 books so far of it. It's just that this one is the only one that I gave 5 stars to, so I had to add it to my little list because I really did enjoy it, and I think it's a very beautiful cover. I like the colors. I also read The Siren by Kira Cass. This is about sirens who are actually deadly. I don't know if you know this or not, but sirens, mermaids, they are known to like bring in boats or sailors to their deaths. It's usually, you know, all romanticized and not at all dark, but this one has darkness in it. It's not all dark, but there is darkness, and it is good, and I enjoyed it immensely. There's a little romance in this book. The way that it was done, though, I liked it a lot. Women come together, but then there's a romance in there, and then there's a little bit of darkness in the siren bit. It's good. Okay, so this is kind of where I break the rules in the aspect of how many books. So December came around. I've just finished it. Today's the 31st, and before we say Happy New Year, I decided to make this video. This one is a worthy opponent. It's again with the whole Wicked Villains, Disney villains kind of thing with Katie Robert. This one is about Hook, as you can see, and Tinkerbell. Again, it is hate to love kind of thing relationship. It was done really well. If you like a little smut in your books, the series is for you, let me tell you right now. And then because, you know, I enjoy thrillers, I also read Alice Feeney, Rock, Paper, Scissors. This, as you can see, is very snowy, perfect time of year. This is I can't tell, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it is about a couple who win a trip to this little church that they change into like a bed and breakfast kind of thing. Their marriage is on the rocks, and so they're going on this trips in hopes to save it. And not everything as it seems. It's kind of a smaller book, so I can't tell you much more about it, but the atmosphere, obviously the environment, the snow, the almost being trapped kind of scenario is in this book, so it's very good thriller. And then because it was Christmas time, I also read The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. She's actually one of the authors for the Janey books, which I did read My Calamity Jane in December as well, but it just didn't add up to the same as the other two. I still really enjoyed it, but it wasn't as top-notch as the other ones that I'm talking about in this month. It's kind of like a new retelling of the Scrooge, you know, Charles Dickens book. This is about Holly Chase, and in the very the first chapter, she dies, and she finds out that pretty much there's like almost like a company that every year does the whole Scrooge story. And so she's a part of this company to like help save lives kind of thing. I really highly recommend that you read this book for Christmas, because it really put me in the Christmas mood for sure. And then I literally just finished this morning, so I had to go ahead and add it in. I almost wanted to, you know, kind of cheat and be like, yeah, I totally read this in 2022, but I didn't. I was surprised that I was able to read this so quickly, because I started it just like 2 days ago. Christian Hannah, Firefly Lane, and so this is actually a Netflix series as well. I started watching that. I'll be honest, I'm a little disappointed already, but I'm only one episode in, so we'll see what happens. But I really enjoyed the book. It's about two friends, two women growing up together in their like high school days, college days, 30s, 40s, all the way till the end kind of thing. So it's all about friendship and them being there for each other and them being totally opposites. One's very shy, timid, and the other one is very boisterous and very sociable and wants, you know, to be loved by all. Very good. It's a great story about friendship and being there for one another. And it pretty much makes you, if you don't have that kind of relationship, I'm sure it would make you very jealous of these two girls that they were able to have this kind of relationship from very back to all the way to the end. So, and the way that they have each other's backs, the downs, the ups of their relationship, it's very good. Another, not like a full bawling fest for me, but it was a tearjerker. So there's that for you. Okay, so that's the end of all my books. That was everything. I'm sure this is going to be a very long video. Sorry about that. If you made it all the way to the end, fantastic. How many books did you read for the whole year? And what were your favorites? And have you read any of these books? And do you have feelings about it? And hopefully they're the same as my feelings and that you loved it just as much, right? Anyway, so thank you very much for joining me. I hope that it was okay that it was just me and my darling, lovely husband was not with me. Like I said, this video we knew was going to be very long, but I definitely wanted to talk about all the books that I really enjoyed finding and reading. I really wanted to share them with you, and to be able to do that, I had to be by myself, so I hope that was okay. I hope you guys have a great new year. I hope you guys had a great Christmas, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!